Hi Flosstube, long time no see. Arlene here on June 11th, 2021. I've learned I should start adding in the year. Um, and yeah, thank you to anyone who's here who maybe saw a notification like, oh, where's she been? Because it's been a long time. So anyone that comes back to see you after you've been away means a lot to me. I was just checking right before I started. It's been about 2.5 months, longer, since I did my last video. And there's lots of reasons why, or one big reason why. So let me just jump into a brief explanation. I've moved. As of the point when I recorded that last video near the end of March, that's not what the plan was going to be for my spring. Without going into all the details, sometimes things happen in your life that you just have to roll with the punches and make the best of it. And hopefully on the other side, things are all working out okay. It was probably just that weekend right after I'd filmed that, I learned that I needed to move. And I went into a frenzy trying to find something that would feel right for me. I am now in a wonderful place. It really is. It took a lot of stress to be packing up, and I mean literally packing up my life. It forced me to do a lot of cleaning out and reorganizing, which is a good thing, because as much as some people, not everyone, as much as some people say, I'm going to always be organized, okay, yeah, I had let it go for a long time. So lots of trips to Goodwill, some trips out to the dumpster, packing up all the rest. I will not admit on camera how many boxes it took to get me here. Let's just say pick whatever number you're thinking of, and it's probably more than that. I know the space where I am right now looks close to being the same. I'll talk about that more in a moment. I literally sat down to do this and two things happened. Number one, I opened up iMovie, which I do this through iMovie, and it looks like things have updated and changed. So I hope that isn't going to be a big deal for me to try and get this onto YouTube, because if you watched me, I don't really do the whole editing thing. So we'll see what happens after I'm done. And then the lighting situation is weird. So like my other place, I have a skylight. I'm up in a loft. I have a skylight. Just where my table is, where I am right now, the skylight light came in very odd. It's also not sunny. It's very much overcast. I turned on my light, which I usually use in all my videos. I'm just feeling a little off here. It may be time for me to invest in a ring light, which would probably make me happier. When I'm teaching and doing all of my work-related stuff, in my office, and I'm at a desk, I have a standing desk that faces a window. So that's the best way to get light on you when you're doing all this online stuff. But I can't do that up here, so anyway. So in having another loft, which was something I really wanted when it came to trying to find a place. And again, it all came about so quickly. And I'm very lucky where I've ended up. So I have a loft space. It is where all my needlework and lace and crafts and art and all those words, where everything is, other than I stitch downstairs in front of the television a lot of the time, but other than like my stitching stand down there, everything else in my creative world pretty much stays up here. The bookshelf that's behind me is basically the bookshelf that was behind me before. Again, where I have the table, you're seeing a slightly different view of it. I think you used to see more of that side. Where am I? That side. And maybe you only out of the corner saw this side. I have a smaller bookshelf, which wasn't there before, set up over there. You can see I have some needlework pieces there. There are some things that are hung around my new place. Not everything has been hung yet. But when I say everything, I'm mostly talking about my needlework pieces. I'm still playing around, and I need to just go for it at this point, like I did with this one here. So I have been here for 4 weeks, maybe it's 5 weeks at this point. Most things are unpacked. That said, right out of camera view on both sides of me, there are boxes from stuff up here that, I mean, all my books and things, and my general supplies, which are over there. that corner unit there and those containers, those are all set up and usable and easy accessible. A lot of other things I'm still trying to figure out the best way to have it the way it feels comfortable. You know, I've already encountered so many times, not up here, no, sorry, not just up here, but also downstairs. I knew exactly where that thing was in my old place, and where is it now? Which I imagine is true for anyone who moves and anyone who's completely packed up everything and now needs to completely unpack everything. But here I am. So that explains my absence. Through all that stress, through all the work that I did in those weeks, stitching is still so important. You know, I had a couple friends say to me, have you been able to stitch? I'm like, yeah. I mean, even if it's only for 20 minutes, but it's part of my routines, my rituals in the evening. It's, as it is probably true for many of you, it's meditation. It's what I need to complete a day. So that was an important piece to have that going. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the projects that I've been doing during this time in a moment. So one of the things that happened in May that I didn't have the bandwidth to do anything about was my Works by ABC anniversary. If you're new, welcome. Thank you for being here. And even those of you who are not new, but maybe don't know, I designed patterns, cross-stitch, and some other things, black work and canvas work, but mostly cross-stitch, under the name Works by ABC. You can find all my things on my Etsy store. There will be a link below. And the official start of my Etsy store, when I officially opened it, was May 20th. I'm pretty sure it's the 20th, 4 years ago. And I've always wanted to do like an anniversary sale around May to honor that. And that just wasn't going to happen this year. So I'm a few weeks late, but I am announcing that there is officially a Works by ABC sale going on right now in my Etsy store. I will put links below. I already said that. It's not just the pieces that you see here. I just did a photo collage to have something to post and so on. But so you can see 15% off all patterns, free shipping in the US, goes through June 30th. I hope you'll go over and check things out. If you've never been to my store before, I sell patterns both as PDF and as hard copies. So if you're a hard copy person, send it to me in the mail. I will do that. If you're a PDF download, PDF person, let me download and get started stitching right away. You can do that too. So just be careful. All of my patterns have 2 listings because you can't. It has to be 2 listings on Etsy. Let's just put it that way. So thank you to anyone who's willing to go check me out and check out, maybe purchase some patterns. I very much appreciate it. I started this designing thing 4 years ago, and I didn't know, well, I had done designing for myself for many years, specific projects. Actually, one of my big, important favorite ones is that one that's hanging on the wall there. I've talked about that in other videos. But it was that spring of 2017, soon after I found Flosstube, and learned about this amazing world of cross-stitch, of Flosstubers, of people who are out there that were like-minded souls. And as a part of that, I couldn't identify exactly who, but somehow I encountered a Flosstuber who was selling patterns, and they didn't seem like, one of the big names. It was somebody who basically said, hey, I've got some stuff. Maybe someone's interested. I've thrown it up on an Etsy store. Go check it out. And I thought, can I do that? Would anyone be interested in what I had to offer? And so I did. There are obviously a lot of growth happens when you've been doing something for 4 years. I look back at some of my earlier work and I'm like, oh, it's better now. But of course that's going to happen, not just in designing stitching world, but in just about anything you do. The more you do it, the more, let's say the better you get at it, and the more advanced, sophisticated, I don't know, choose your own words. So honoring that about a month late anniversary sale going on right now. Please go check me out. I'd appreciate it very much. Okay, so as I am filming right now on June 11th, there is a huge event going on out in Cincinnati, Ohio. StitchCon is happening. I loved my experiences going in 2018, 2019. I was scheduled to go in 2020. We all know what happened there. I was scheduled to go this year. Lots of hesitation for a number of reasons, including the fact that I'm not done with my school year and the various school pieces that I'm doing, and timing was a little too early for me this year. Some other considerations, but it boiled down to this. Once I realized late March, early April that I need to move and it's going to happen sooner rather than later, I just couldn't imagine trying to get settled and walk away and go on a trip. That I knew that just wasn't going to work for me. So I made the good decision for me to bow out. And you know, I've seen some posts already. Some folks are having some great times. I hope it's a great weekend. We all miss the stitching retreats, the opportunities to be in person together with those who love what you love. Some of those have started to happen again, and they will all come back too. I mentioned StitchCon because my trunk, even though I'm not there, my Works by ABC trunk show is there. So, and I posted on Instagram, thank you to Nicole, Buckeye Stitcher, who had sent me a picture. They did a lovely job in setting up the models that I've sent. So I hope some StitchCon folks will be interested in my work. Related, retreats. So I have also, in 2018, 2019, run a New Jersey Flosstube retreat and got so much out of doing that. It felt like I was giving something to the community, but we were all, what can I say? So many positive things came from those experiences. I was, of course, set up to do one in 2020, of course, canceled it. Had set up, you know, the plan to have one for this summer in 2021 and was very hesitant, just not knowing how things were going to evolve, as anyone, how things were going to evolve as the months passed by. It boiled down to this. I needed to make a decision based on my contract with the hotel by May 1st, that I really needed to commit or say no. And, you know, I'm not a business doing the retreats. I wasn't doing that as a business. It was me as a person. And I had to weigh very carefully the financial considerations. And it, simply put, if I went ahead with a retreat and more people last minute decided to say, I'm not going to come, not feeling quite comfortable, too many of those last minute people would cause a lot of financial problems for me. Because when you do something like this at a hotel, part of your contract is, and you may not know this, so that's why I'm sharing, a lot of events that take place at hotels, part of your contract is that you are committing to fulfilling hotel rooms. Like, you know your guests are going to need the rooms, so you're guaranteeing to the hotel X number of rooms are going to be filled. And so if too many people backed out, it wasn't just like the money they paid me, the $100 for the retreat. It was, are too many of those going to add up to be that I'm going to owe the hotel money because I haven't filled enough hotel rooms. And I did a survey among those who were registered to attend. I had a little over a half, and it was like 55% who were basically gung-ho, yep, at this time, this was like third week of April, yes, want to do it. But that just wasn't enough percentage-wise for me to feel comfortable. So I went ahead and canceled it. Is it hard? Yes. Do I want to be back together in that kind of format with tons of people? Yes. More and more things are opening up. More restrictions are being dropped. It will all be wonderful next summer. So I've committed to absolutely putting on New Jersey Flosstube Retreat 2022. If you are someone, well, the people who already registered have heard this all from you. If you are interested in getting on the wait list for it, send me an email. I'll put it down below to njflosstuberetreat@gmail.com. When I set a date, no dates have been set. It'll probably be sometime in the fall. I will be contacting all those who are already registered, and if any of them are not able to come, don't want to come, whatever, spots will open up and I will turn to my wait list. So something that I'm really going to, and lots of other people are really going to look forward to next summer. And take what we have right now. Tomorrow, I'm getting together with my stitch group to do some stitching in person. We've gotten a little get-togethers. Some of us went to lunch a few weeks ago, but to be able to sit in the store and stitch for at least a few hours together, I'm looking forward to that. So that's where retreats stand. Let's talk about some stitching things. I gotta think about the timing of this. I was starting to work on a new model, a new design, before the whole move thing started to happen. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek. All you're going to get is a color. So it's not quite calling it. This color is a Zweigart fabric called Exotic Orchid. This is on a 32 count. I know it does not come in 28 because, it's a Lugana. So that's not what I meant to say. Because Lugana, whatever. I don't know if it comes in any other counts or any other, like if it's a linen also. I meant to look that up. This is a Lugana. This is a 32 count. And the reason I point this out is I posted this on Instagram. Now I'm wondering, did I talk about this in my last video? Because I think I would have been working on it in March. Well, either you know the answer to that or you don't. I'm going to keep talking like I didn't. I love to, when it's appropriate, to explore different things. There are plenty of cross-stitch designers that do beautiful, amazing work, and predominantly stick with cross stitches. And I would say most of my designs are cross stitches, but sometimes it's interesting to play around with some other things, like other stitches or something about the threads. And you may have seen many of my lace designs involve different widths of threads, using 2 strands and 1 strand in the same pattern. I also like the idea of exploring other things. If you are familiar at all, I've got a light thing going on here, with Rainbow Gallery, many cross-stitchers are familiar with it because of Petite Treasure braid, which is a pretty decent substitution for a Kreinik braid for those who don't like Kreinik. But Rainbow Gallery has a ton of other threads, many of which are geared toward the needlepoint world, meaning, needlepoint world has typically canvas that is 13 count and 18 count, and the holes of like an 18 count canvas are bigger than the holes of like an 18 count Aida. So that is to say that a lot of threads are thicker. But I was giving a try to Petite Silk Lame braid. And here's what evolved. The main center part of that project, which I'm not showing right now, I could tell that this thread was just a little too thick. That's why I went to look to see if it had a higher count, or lower count, like a 28 instead of a 32, and it didn't. But I put the whole thing in, and then I started to work on the border, and I couldn't find anything that worked. And I couldn't use this same thread because the border of this design has more condensed stitches as opposed to the center area. I'm going to explain all of this better when I'm ready to share that project. Let's just say I ended up totally restarting it. I will keep in mind the idea of Petite Silk Lame braid when it comes to other projects where there's not condensed stitching. It just didn't work for this one. So I've restarted it. I just the other night finished basically where I was before, and just last night started working on the border. So you will learn more about that project in the future. Now, knowing I was at a little bit of an impasse with that, the whole border, what am I doing thread-wise, whatever, and moving, packing up all day long, I needed something that was going to be a no-brainer. And I think many people have stitching projects that, this project is my no-brainer project. I have one of those that it seems like it only comes out, like it retreats, so it hasn't been worked on for a while. I know I showed this in the last video, at least I think I did, because I did take it out during the Needlework Expo. It was an online wholesale show beginning of March, and it was the perfect kind of project to work on while I was sitting there, waiting for someone to come to my booth. So I took this out, and it was the perfect thing to do. Here, and I unrolled it enough so you can see. Oh, here. So here's the idea of this project. There are 9 colors: red, pink, purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, brown, and gray. And each of those 9 colors, there are 9 rectangles of various shades, various words that you might use to describe that particular color. All charted out in DMC. I mean, it's literally like a scrap project because you don't need much to fill in these rectangles. When I charted this, I remember going to sit at Michael's on the floor and trying to play around because I didn't have my DMCs organized very well at that time, and thought I felt pretty good with the decisions I made. As I have been, the pattern's available. I made this available well before I had a model stitched because I knew it would take forever to do a model of it. As I've been stitching, I've been saying, don't like that decision. That rectangle would look better there, and so on. So some changes have been made. I will be, eventually when this is done, I'll absolutely be putting out a new color listings, word and color listings. If you are someone who has this project and is stitching it right now and is interested in the changes I've made, I'm happy to email you, changes that I've done so far, if that in any way interests you. So I pulled this project out. When I started it, I started with the purples, and then I went to the blues. I was working on the greens. Again, I ran into this color, like this color is too close to the fern. I should have made it different, blah, blah, blah. I stopped the greens. What I thought I could do in terms of no-brainer was border. So in literally like the week I was moving, including like the night I moved, or the day I moved, that night, I needed to stitch. I didn't anyway. So I had started doing the borders, and I figure I'll do border up, and if I really still need some of that kind of time, I'll do border down. Ran into an interesting thing. I posted this on Instagram, which I think some people totally got it. So that night I moved. I am starting to stitch, picking up wherever I was on the border. And then look, it's a 3371 is the border color, dark brown. And I looked at what I had in my little baggie, and I'm like, oh my God, how did I not realize this before I packed up the DMCs? That there's like almost none of this left. So this whole plan of just work on the border was about to like fly out the window. Because this loft area was basically the last area that I really worked on in terms of unpacking. Just the way I needed to do things. There was a huge pile of boxes and containers. So that night I came up the stairs. It was sort of like, I am not digging through that pile. What am I? And basically right in front, couldn't have been any clearer. There was the box. I did a pretty good job at labeling my boxes. There was the box that said DMC shelf, which is to say these 3 white boxes and then plus a little container there, that's my DMC. It was meant to be. Just how easy I was able to get into my DMC thread. The stitching gods were on me that day. So that box was right there. So I was able to continue working on the border. And then again, I had nothing else that felt right. Let me just keep working on my no-brainer. I was able to take out those boxes and do a better plan of the pinks. And at this point have completed all the pinks. I then, last week or so, took out all the DMCs again, made a revised plan of the reds, started to work on that a little bit. I've gone back to my new design thing over there, but this is so helpful to have as a no-brainer kind of project. So it's fun also that's actually gotten some work on it because it wasn't my first, because it says 2018. If you can hear the phone, that's a landline that I don't answer. So, and I don't even have a phone hooked up here. I used to have a phone hooked up. I guess I haven't found the box that the phone is in. Doesn't matter. It does say 2018, so I thought it was for my first year. It wasn't. But anyway, it's been in the works for a while. Oh my God, you can hear the sound. Hold on. Sorry about that. I didn't know if I'd actually be getting, I've had that phone number for so long, and most realms of my world, important, like I need to actually know something, have my cell phone number. But every so often something comes in on that number that, anyway, the machine went off. Yes, it's got an old machine attached to it. But no, it got hung up right away. Now, of course, I have no idea how long I was talking because I've restarted this. All right, it's going to be as long as it needs to be. I think I'm done talking about the Color Thesaurus project. Okay, Color Thesaurus project, talked about the design I'm working on. So another thing that fell under the realm of I need some no-brainer kind of stitching. I discovered, I had to look up her name, a woman. She's on Instagram as Wolf Rat Sen Designs. I'll link that below. She has a website. She's in the embroidery world. So working on fabric, like the kind of fabric you buy for clothes or something, but that kind of fabric, and stitches, embroidery stitches. But so unique in mostly geometric stuff. Very unique in. You're gonna go look at her designs. And like I said, I think I found it through Instagram and was really intrigued. And then there was a weekend where she was having like a 20% off sale. She sells kits. She's in England, definitely not in the US. She sells kits. She'll mail, but she also does PDFs of her designs. And I said, no, let me pick up a couple of these. It's only a few bucks. So in that first week or two, after I'd moved, I was doing a little in the Color Thesaurus, but I did start working on these designs. So this is one that you can see works. And I didn't even look up the names of the designs. I'll put them below. They're on my Instagram. So I loved, so she didn't have it, this involves 3 colors. And I forget what colors she had in her design. I think maybe she offered 2 different color options or something, neither of which appealed to me. I knew that I needed 3 threads that were from the same color family, fairly close, but distinctive. And I just love the way this looks. Now, that said, this was using 3 strands of DMC floss, and I wasn't laying my threads. I wasn't railroading them. This was just, I just want to get this in. It was more like a test project for me to see if it was something I would enjoy, and I did. But, you could kind of see that my threads are not smooth as they could be if you take the time to lay them. And then when I was done with this, I thought, well, I do want to see what it looks like when I do a better job in my stitching. So I haven't worked on this in a couple weeks, but I do want to get back to it because it's pretty quick stitching. Whoa, that's all whited out. So there are 7 different colors. This is a blue family, and this is following one of her color suggestions. And if you can get a sense, it's going to be light and get darker and darker and darker as you go out. And it's going to look really cool. And I just need to come back and work on it some more. Oh, sorry, the whole light thing. Need to figure out a solution to this. So, really unique stuff. If you are the kind of stitcher that just wants to try something different, go check out her stuff, her Instagram or her website. She probably has other media, but that's the 2 places that I know of. And try something new. I really like the way they looked, so cool. Thinking ahead to future stitching, and that falls under sort of 2 categories. First thing to share is that there will be another Needlework Expo the last weekend in August. At least I'm assuming the dates haven't changed. Again, like the one in March, it is wholesale only. So stores virtually go to meet with designers, and designers are probably planning to do new releases at that time. And so the expo happened in March, partially, initiated because there was a very good chance in Nashville wasn't going to happen, as was the case. It was not sponsored by Nashville. It was all created and done by Janice Noble of the Noteworthy Needle. And she had said at the time, which I think is great, that her vision would be to do something like an online needlework show in the fall, Nashville in person in the spring. That would be, and apparently years ago there were two. There was a fall show and a spring show in person. I don't know if they were both in Nashville, and that just changed over the years. But it's a really cool idea, and we'll see. But so what she said is that I can't wait to 2022 to make a fall show happen, because everyone's going to forget how they did this. So even that very weekend, she was already thinking ahead that yes, this is working really well. Let's make sure we do it again. So, I mean, she's timed it to basically, if you are familiar, I mean, designers put out new stuff all year round. There are some dates that you see a whole influx, and September 1st is one of those dates. So that's her reasoning. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's literally the last weekend of August, where I imagine a lot of designers who will be participating will be doing their like September 1st releases for that. We'll see. So I have already been planning for that. My hope is that I'll have 4 new designs at that time. Between the move and chaos, I haven't put out anything new since March. That's just my reality. But I'm planning for 4 new things, 2 of which are completely stitched already. One of them already FFO'd. This one that I'm sneaked right there is the 3rd, and the 4th one is charted. Needs to be stitched. It might be the kind of thing that some significant changes might happen once I start stitching it, but it isn't huge, so it feels very doable to have it done by mid-August. That's my plans for Needlework Expo, and that's basically my cross-stitching that, especially, not every single time, but especially in the last year or two, when I want to do videos, I want to be a part of this community, all of this. But there's been so much stitching that I haven't shared because it's a model for a new design that hasn't come out yet. And there was once or twice where I think 2 times, that I was stitching and sharing and then put out the design. I know that's not typical. And sometimes I think I should just do it that way, or every so often do one that way. Anyway, so when it comes to my current cross-stitching, a lot of the time in the last year or 2, I haven't been able to show it as I'm currently stitching it here. But I have done some other projects in the last couple of years that I have shared outside of cross-stitching world. For those who've been around, know me, I do a lot of stitching, cross-stitching. It's where I started, when I was in high school. But black work is actually something I design a lot. Canvas work pieces. This past winter, I was sharing a hardanger piece. Anyway, when I am ready / needing a break from my cross-stitching, I have a few things that I'm thinking about. In the last video, I talked about needle painting, and I even asked people to kind of vote which of, I think it was 3 that I should do next. And I need to go back to that video, remind myself which 3 those were. Again, everything kind of hit the fan right after that video. But a needle painting project will definitely be in the future. I also have a new hardanger piece that I really want to work on. I saw the Facebook, Instagram, was so intrigued. There are some hardanger pieces out there, like this one, where you're cutting away more of the fabric than you're actually keeping, which is like a fascinating kind of philosophical thing. Is it still on fabric if there's so little fabric left? Well, like this one, you could see that center part doesn't get cut out, but all this other stuff around it is only going to have minimal amounts of fabric threads left. Anyway, I thought this design was really, really beautiful. And this came from Inspirations magazine. I have a few issues. It's a beautiful magazine. They also, I don't think they do this for every design, but many of the designs that are in their any given issue, I believe I'm saying this correct, they will offer separately like a PDF online. So I believe at some point this was in one of their issues, but it was available to purchase on their website, and so I did. So you might see this hardanger project coming up at some point. And then the third thing that is brewing in my head for something, new, non-cross-stitch new to work on. As I mentioned, I'm still trying to figure out where all my things are going to hang on the wall, mostly needlework and actually some lace pieces as well. And I I have a little bit more wall space here, or more, simply put, more wall space here. And so trying to figure out where I want everything and realizing there's some empty spaces that, cool, I could start filling them. You may recall when I was working on this project, followed by this project. These are both designs by Threedles, which is Curdy Biggs canvas work. Visually, these look way different than hers. She's a very unique color scheme palette plan, and I chose to take her stitches and her overall, chart and make it more of a monochrome kind of thing. Used many different threads, not identical to the threads she used. Even didn't stitch some of the stitches she did. I love how these turned out. I had not gotten the blue one framed. It just wasn't happening at that time. And then when I had the idea to do another one, I thought, oh, 3. I'm going to do 3 of these. And then I'll have them all framed at the same time, so they'll be identical. So my plan is a third one that will be like emerald green. So blue, red, green. And I've already picked out which of Curdy's patterns I will do, and it's approximately the same size. So, and it should, now I'm not going to remember shape-wise. Like this one is kind of circular. This one is whatever you're going to call it. Anyway, so at some point in the future, you might see me stitching on another one of these with a whole bunch of green threads. Looking at my list and looking around the table, and I think, oh, I know there's one other thing to share. So one last thing. When I was packing everything up, and sure, I took advantage, particularly up here and also down in my office, to, if I have to do this, I might as well, on the other end, reorganize and make it better. So my shelves, these bookshelves here, as well as a couple of smaller ones that are over in the corner there, have been somewhat reorganized. So it's not, the details aren't important. Let's just say I took advantage of the fact and I moved sections of books in different areas and so on. I also found some books that reminded me of, oh yeah, there's some design inspiration to come from that book and that book. There are 3 particular ones that absolutely went on my kind of running list of design ideas of make sure I go back and revisit them. And almost like, why haven't I made a design based on this, that, or the other up to this point? So it's a positive that comes out of moving is when you literally have to handle every single thing that you own, you find things. And I just wanted to share this with you. I honestly don't know if I had shared this in the past. Those who have been around know that I also do bobbin lace. And bobbin lace is a way that lace was made before machines made lace. There is also needle lace, which I've dabbled in. Certain kinds of knitting are referred to lace knitting. Okay. Tatting is a type of lace. Now it's done with shuttles. It's very different than doing my bobbin lace. But this was the first. This was the first big tatting piece I did. And I basically taught myself how to tat from a book. Actually, a book that is there. I think that's what I'm pointing to. And I'd done some smaller things. And I believe the pattern that I got this from, if you look up there, no, this side? Yes. Tatting books are here, and then some of the ones that are laying down here. And I believe this pattern came from one of those ones that's laying down. I just didn't go and dig it out. But because this sat in my bedroom on the top of furniture with a bunch of other stuff to the point where it was almost covered up. It doesn't, with what I'm doing down the bedroom, it doesn't really belong there anymore, but I need to do something with it. And just, I brought it up here because I thought if I do something with it, it'll end up here somehow. Ooh, sorry. So there we go, folks. I am so glad to be back here. I haven't watched that much Flosstube in the last couple of months. I definitely want to get back. The spirit of community that got me involved here, the watching and commenting on other people's videos, and hoping they would come over and comment on mine, and we'd have this wonderful stitchy dialogue going on. Or even if you don't make videos yourself, but when you go back to somebody's video, or you go back to watch somebody's video, and the person making the video, starts to see your name every single time, or thereabouts. That's community. That's important in our world. So I am, a reminder again about my, I can't find the paper now, my sale going on my Etsy store. No coupon code needed. It's just all set up. You purchase something, it'll be 15% off. If it's a hard copy, you won't have to pay shipping. So a reminder about that. Looking forward to the various stitching projects I have going on, especially the ones that will eventually become Needlework Expo releases. I hope you all are doing okay. I hope in your world things are opening up and that we are getting ourselves back to, everything's a new normal. We are all learning so much about ourselves, our world, in this last year and a half, almost. And there are some good things that have come from this. And I hope those good things stay. Perfect example, my college friends. We've done some Zooms together. Well, there's been occasional texts and emails and phone calls. But to have a group of us together on screen, it's wonderful. Is that something that's going to continue even as fewer and fewer Zoom things happen? You bet. So I hope you have things in your world, Zoom related or not, that you've come to appreciate because of what's happened in this last period of time, and you hold on to those things and keep them in your world as things start to open back up again. Stay safe. Be well. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate the likes and the comments and the subscribers. Tell your friends about me. I'm afraid that no one's going to come back. But if you're watching, obviously you're back, and that means a lot to me. Take care. Till next time.